Wake up and be amazing. Grab your daily Danish. Take 2. Don't you just love first world problems? Look, I was telling a story in my private coaching group today that I was trying to get a check cashed, and I had opened a brand new business account, and they hold that money for 5 days, and I needed the money in order to buy a ticket to go to Florida next Monday. And so they weren't able to do it. I was able to do it through my regular bank, and it worked out just fine. And I told the people around the bank, I said, if that is the worst problem that I have today, then it's a pretty damn good day. And I tell you every day that you're going to change the world with high fives, smiles, and handshakes. And I walked around and did that, grabbed my little Starlight Mint, and I walked out the door, and I figured it out. So sometimes, you know, this signal goes out to outer space, and it comes back, and sometimes it gets lost. But let's talk about self-care. So self-care number 1, and it's not even on my list, is a positive attitude. Because if I was pissed off, if I was angry, if I slammed my laptop, if my phone is right here that you can't see with some notes for me, and I threw it all, it could be thousands of dollars, and what did I prove and what did I do? Nada. 0. So let's go back to number 1, and that is to make yourself a priority. Change your list where your first name, is the first thing that gets done. I, Dane, will wake up and exercise to start my day so that I can feel good, because I know with my health, anything is possible. I know with my health, I can help you regain your health. So make that appointment first. Don't cancel it. Make it a non-negotiable. So let's talk about formal exercise with that. And we're going to get to exercise as one of our pieces. But here's what I hope. I want your children, your loved ones, to say, when you are done exercising today, can we do this? Instead of, if you exercise today, can we do that? 1 is an affirmative, and it's written in stone. And when it's new, it's going to be hard. When it's new, it's going to be hard. When it's new, it's going to be hard, because it's not the norm. And we don't typically like change. But when we do it over and over and over and over, it becomes the norm, and we forget what it used to be. So make yourself, number 1, change your priority list. Celebrate the mistakes along the way. I am the first one to tell you, you are going to falter. You are not going to have any perfect days, but we have more good days and quote unquote bad days. Life is pretty damn good. So in my daily Danish that I sent out this morning, it was embrace the crap. That is rule number 3 of Danish. And the analogy I talked about is when you shovel manure, poo, onto your roses, it stinks, it's messy, and it might make you want to vomit a little bit. But when you do it, and then you go back later and you water that rose bush with the manure on it, and the sun shines on it, and the temperature gets warmer, that rose will blossom. It will bloom, and so will you. So give yourself a little break, and don't look for perfection. Look for progress, little baby steps. So for example, also, I talk to people all the time about trying to get more water in, all the time. It's one of the first things I talk about. It seems so simple, but yet so hard. So I might call or text or whatever mode of communication we're going to use. I said, so tell me what your average water consumption has been for 3 days. Well, I didn't meet it yesterday. I'm like, that isn't the question that I asked. What I asked was, how much did you average for 3 days? Because that's what it's about. So, you know, if you had 60 one day, you had 40 another day, you had an 80 another day, that's 180 ounces, right? You divide that by 3, that's 60 ounces. That's pretty close to where we try to get most people. We can talk about the math later. That's not what this is about. But it's about, what are you doing more days than you don't? So celebrate the good times. Another thing that we teach is to get an old-fashioned calendar. Print it out on your printer. Go to a dollar store, $1, buy a calendar. Find yourself some foil stars. And when you've achieved your goals for the day, give yourself a gold star. And if you, at the end of the day, the end of the month, end of the week, you have more stars celebrating your success, you'll feel pretty darn good. Think about it. It's so easy, yet so hard. I kind of melded those two together. So we talk about progress, not perfection. At the end of the day, we're looking for balance. So I sat at Starbucks yesterday with Billy. I've come to, I met him at a fitness event, and we bonded right away. And he was talking about his life. He has 6 adopted children. He's a full-time school teacher. He had been morbidly obese. He'd been more than 100 pounds overweight at one time. And he's trying hard like to keep it off, and he feels like his wife and his kids and his job, that pendulum, I'm out of the camera, is right where it should be, but his fitness isn't. And I said, Billy, I don't really believe there's such thing as work-life balance. It doesn't exist. What's going to happen is that pendulum is going to swing one way or the other, and you can't leave it so far to the right or so far to the left that you negate what's in the middle. So find that balance. When things are kind of out of alignment, bring it back. When they're out of alignment, bring it back. But you have to be aware of what you're doing. And that's why by tracking your victories with your gold stars, that's why making your list and prioritizing your life, that is why celebrating your successes will help you do that and swing that pendulum back. So if you're always looking for that teeter-totter to be completely balanced, I really believe you'll be disappointed. What happens when you're on that one kid gets off? Boop! You fly off into the air. I don't know if kids even still use a seesaw or teeter-totter. But if you're old enough to be watching this, you probably understand that analogy. So it's going to balance back and forth. And sometimes it's going to be here, and sometimes it's going to be here, right here. And that's the way life is, but you have to be aware. And awareness is so much of it. That's when I know that people that we're working with as champions, challengers, and dreamers are getting it when they understand and figure it out before I even have a chance to point it out. For me, one of the biggest, laugh, man. Don't take life so damn seriously. As far as I know, there's only one of them. You get to live once. Experience it. Cherish it. Laugh so hard, you think you're going to wet your pants. When was the last time you just let it go? I mean, there's all kind of research that says laughter is the best medicine. Awesome, Annie. Please send the questions. I would love to answer them and have a dialogue. And I appreciate everybody that's joining me. But again, laugh. Make it fun. Be silly. In the event discussion, I posted a picture of Tanya and I at the Austin 1020, which was a race event where it was 10 miles with 20 bands. And the photographer caught me. I don't know if Tanya goosed me and I was just laughing, but it's a great picture because my smile is so genuine. It's never contrived, actually, but it was much different to see it. So laugh, laugh, laugh. What if you combine exercise with joy? Something you love. If you hate to ride a bike and I ask you to ride a bike, you probably won't do it. If I ask you to run and you don't like it, you probably won't do it. But I'll tell you what, if you get through that first original discomfort and you begin to learn the process and enjoy the process, the results will come. I believe exercise is the least expensive therapy you'll ever, ever, ever get. Hello, Lee. Hello, Jess. TP. So combine exercise with joy. Make it fun. If you have children, try to include the kids. Yes, you may want to go to come to me and work out. You may want to plug in with your on-demand fitness, and maybe it's not the right time for the kids, but if they get to see you, they're going to emulate you. So I've been going to these Camp Gladiator workouts as I'm an affiliate and about to be a trainer with them too, and I'm excited about branding that and bringing that with Dane Bowl Fitness. Well, Bree brings her daughter, who's 4 years old, not in kindergarten, and she'll pick up her little weights, and she'll run around the cones, and she'll do a little burpee. She'll try to do a little lunge because she's watching the big people do it. So why not be a good example? Let's be a good example. So combine your exercise with joy. Even at the studio, we're a little bit silly. We tell some jokes. We lose focus every now and then. Then it's my job to reel us back in. Jessica commented on this one today. Make space for all of your emotions. All emotions are good. They just don't all feel good. So from joy to sorrow to laughter to exuberance. Hey, Tabitha, they're all good. And it's okay if some days you feel like you're getting the crud kicked out of you. You can't stay down. I told these two young men today, and they followed me on Instagram, and I said that I believe that the proverb says, if you get knocked down 7 times, you've got to get up 8. And you know what? When you get knocked down, you just want to be like have a tantrum and kick the ground and hit the ground. That's okay. But you got to get back up and you got to do it again. You got to do it again. So when you laugh, it's fun. When you feel pain, it's not fun. Any kind of pain. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay to shed a tear. It's okay to give a hug. It's okay to give a high five. It's okay to share a smile. It's okay to give a handshake. It's okay to say, Lee and Tabitha and Sarah and Travis and Jessica and Tammy, you rocked. Boom, boom, boom. Let's do it. Let's get back in it. And even if you are the final one in that particular group, so what? You're in the group. We want you to be in the group. We want you to be included. A good friend of mine, Michelle, she's a Boston marathoner, but she doesn't want to run marathons anymore. And she said she was getting runner shamed because she wasn't doing them, or she wasn't doing an ultra, which is a distance greater than a marathon, greater than 26.2 miles. And you know what I took? My response was running, exercise, life. At the end of the day, we want to build a community, but it's personal. The only one you ultimately have to answer to is you. You have to answer to you. So find the space in the emotions. It's okay. Have space that's your own. Where can you go to get away from the world for just a little bit? Is there a room? Thank you, Tammy. I'm going to click like without turn off. Boop. Look at that. I'm all fancy. Find some space for you. Do you need time to meditate? Do you need time for silence? And I quote Hal Erod's book, The Miracle Morning, all the time. And the lifesavers, the S is silence. My moment of silence tends to take place. There's two places it takes place. And that's right when I get my shoes on, my slippers on, my flip-flops in the morning before I actually grab my glasses and I can sit on the end of the bed and everything's quiet. Everything's quiet. The second place for me, we have a little sunroom, which now is really where our cat lives, but that's also how I let the dog out into the backyard in the morning. And there's a couch there. And before I turn on any lights, I will sit there for a moment and I might talk to God. I might kind of look for guidance from my dad, who you can kind of see part of him over my shoulder in the office. And that's where I find it. I find that, people are always amazed that I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, and actually Tuesday and Thursday now because I start earlier at the studio. It's a little earlier. You can find those moments of silence that early in the morning because there are very few people there to bother you. And I don't mean bother in the sense that you don't want to talk to them, but it means that there's nobody else awake. Dane, how often do you do this? Do you take the same time? Can I please get notified when you go live? Absolutely. So I usually do it at the end. So Lee, there should be a place where you can say, get notified the next time that I go live. I do it at 4 o'clock Central Time on Wednesdays. Now there's an exception to that because next week I'll be flying back to Texas from Florida for an event at the University of Southern Florida that I'm honored and privileged to speak at about the same thing where self-care isn't selfish. We'll go a little deeper there. So I will find a time, which I believe is going to be Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, but I'll always put it up as an event. Sometimes it's right after this. Sometimes it's only a couple days, but you should just be able to get notified that I'm going to go live. So I really appreciate that. It's a fantastic question. I think today, actually, I said I'm going to do 8 steps, but I've got notes from a couple articles, and I've got notes that you can't see, and I'm going to add some more as I'm about halfway in. I try to keep these always at no more than 30 minutes, and I'll start also doing some 3 to 5 minute videos throughout the week as I've been kind of practicing them in some private groups and on my new YouTube channel. So if you're on YouTube, please go to Dane Boyle Fitness and subscribe. If you'd like a daily text that says, wake up and be amazing, and grab your daily Danish, and it's 90 seconds or less, I'd love to add there. You just have to get your phone number. So I see that Andy put up a question. Here's a question. I have 2 small kids, both in school from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. By the time I pick them up and get home, it's time to cook dinner, do homework, bathe, read. Seems like I don't have extra time for me. I make time for my workouts from 4:30 to 6:30 a.m. and lunchtime, but spending so little time with my babies, I feel guilty. There's more to that, and this question actually came to me earlier, so I have read it. Number 1, I applaud you for making your health a priority in the morning, because my hope is, and sometimes the babies wake up when mom gets up and dad gets up. When my kids were at home, I had to get out the door before they did because I wanted to have breakfast with them. I wanted to read to them. I wanted to help get them in the car. And that's because we're caring people. And that's okay. Don't ever let that go away. At the same time, when you want to go on your runs on the weekends, I still suggest that you do it in the morning where life doesn't get in the way. And it's hard. I get it. When the baby's crying and pulling at your leg, you feel guilt. But when you begin to build that habit, that routine, it becomes the norm. And once again, if we go back to the beginning that we talked about, I want the kiddos to say, Mommy, when you're done your run today, can we go to the park? Can you read me a book? Can we go to the trampoline park? Then that becomes the expectation. And Tabitha, look, I know that question came from you and we talked about it. And I'll use a mutual friend of ours. So my coaching companion and her head basketball coach, Coach Wilson, he is an age group triathlete. And all of his children grew up with John going to ride his bike on a long ride on the weekends, to running, to swimming. And they knew when Daddy was done at 8 or 9 o'clock, the rest of the day was for them. And that became the norm. And now those were young children and now they're young adults. And I watch them as they are age group runners and triathletes. And Cam Man is a bodybuilder. So they learned from him to make that a priority. That is a great question. Self-care becomes so important because if we're young, our body will maintain a lot of things going on. And as we age, if we don't take care of it now, it will be a slippery slope. So make your self-care. And I use my dad as an example all the time, who was a great provider financially, emotionally. He became a physician at 35 years old, so completely changed our family trajectory, right? Started medical school when I was in 3rd grade, ended when I was in 7th grade, finished his internship and his residency. I was a junior in high school. And so think about that, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th, so 8 years of training. So I was a little boy to a young adult who was kind of pissed off his daddy wasn't around, to be honest with you. But in that time, because he wanted to make sure we had a middle-class upbringing, we always had food in our belly, I never went to bed hungry, he didn't take care of himself. He just didn't. He ate on the road. He loved soda. He was a Coca-Cola guy. He wasn't a coffee guy. And each decade that happened, he became heavier. He became more sedentary, and his body began to shut down. And it has just sparked my passion to ignite life and spark a healthy revolution, because a man who died at 68 years old, who from 63 to 68 spent almost 100% of his time in a hospital being cared for by physicians with needles being stuck in him and parts of his body being amputated because he was a severe diabetic. But at 68, he passed away, and his father, my grandfather, is still alive in his mid-90s. His grandfather, my great-grandfather, lived to over 100 years old and never spent a day in the nursing home. So that was all about nature versus nurture. It was his nature and his environment that put him there. All right, looks like we have another question. I can't afford to take myself to a spa or do anything. How can I practice self-care? Look, if you can afford a massage, and I talked to a massage therapist today, and for those that didn't know it, I went to massage therapy school in 1991 and 92, and I did it as part of my living all the way through the 90s until I finished my undergraduate degree. A little unknown tip about Dane Boyle and his background. We don't have to spend money for self-care. Again, it can be silence. It can be a walk. You can read a book. Do you have a hot bath? Do you need that quiet time that we talked about earlier? Those are all pieces of self-care. Maybe you go to the farmer's market and you buy fresh vegetables instead of buying the canned veggies. I mean, and we don't really, and maybe that wasn't a good example because I try not to use food as a reward, but could you sit on the back porch with your significant other and just talk about your hopes and dreams and give a hug and maybe cry together or dream together, or think about sitting in that, 2 white rocking chairs on a porch, watching your grandchildren play. That isn't ours. I think that Tanya and I will have a silver Airstream, and we're going to have it loaded up with food and the dog, and we're going to go see America. And we're going to have fold-up white rocking chairs, and we're going to put them out in Nashville, Tennessee, in San Jose, California, in Portland, Maine, and Key West, Florida, and all the places in between. Because we're going to ignite life and spark a healthy revolution from coast to coast with everyone we meet. And when we hit 55 and 60 and 70, and they see us walking, running, riding bikes, getting in a canoe, climbing Kilimanjaro, which I heard on a podcast today that says, "What's your Mount Everest?" And the woman made Kilimanjaro sound like it was really doable. And it's 19,000 feet, by the way, of elevation, but it's not a technical climb. And I'm like, I don't know. I just might have to add that to my bucket list, right? See, I love that. Jessica said the RV life. I never even been in one really, but I'm going to rent one, and we're going to take it to the coast, and we're going to try it out, and I'm going to embrace the mistakes. because I'm sure the sewer system all screwed up, or the water system, as long as the two don't get mixed together, that as a scientist I know is not good, and dysentery is not good, right? So let's laugh. I'm just having a little fun. So here's number 9. It's not even on my cards. I want you to look good. I want you to be confident. How does that happen? I'm starting to yell. Take care of yourself with good food. I had a gentleman a few weeks ago, late 40s. He's overweight. He's diabetic. He's got what they call peripheral neuropathy. So he's got numbness in his extremities, his fingers and his toes. None of that is healthy. He's on metformin, which is a medication for diabetes. He's insulin dependent. And he said he was a little boy. And I mentioned earlier, I never went to bed hungry, but he did. So it was 7 or 8. And he said he was mad at God, and he was stomping his feet in bed and kicking his feet, having a tantrum. He said, I'm never going to go hungry again. And he's blessed to have a good job. He makes excellent money. He's got several children. And he said, now with the food he buys in such abundance because he hasn't let go of that little boy piece 40 years ago of being hungry. So what we talked about is making better food choices. Healthier food choices. Instead of volume and quantity, making the better ones, eating food in the least processed way. So not going necessarily to McDonald's and getting a 50-piece bucket and 4 or 5 large orders of fries and Cokes, right? It's like, how can we have better food? Present yourself well. If you bathe and shave and wear clean clothes and better clothes, and you will feel good about yourself. When I was a middle school basketball coach, we had the young men, I coached boys basketball at that time. The young men had to wear ties to school. Not all of them had ties, but I had plenty. I still have plenty. I don't wear them very often. And we were told by the teachers that their behavior was better. Their behavior was better. And we did. We tied it for them, and they would just kind of take down the knot, the double Windsor maybe, if that's trendier now, and take it back over their head. Present yourself well. When I head to Florida, I'm going to wear my new kilt and my Danny Boyle Fitness shirt and my backwards hat. And I'm pretty stoked about having a new kilt. It's black tartan with red, and those are the DB school colors. I haven't tried it on, but the box it came in was pretty cool too. It said bravery inserted. I thought, woo, because you know what? A man in a kilt is a man and a half. All right, one more question, and I'm going to talk some more too, I'm sure. Where do I find the time in the day to do this? I work 2 jobs and struggle getting all of my lists done. Thank you, Tammy. Look, you're going to make some mistakes. I believe if you prioritize your list, make a list. Look at the list. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, my business advisor, and I also coach him on with Fitness Redesign. And he's retired. I said, do you have a list, a priority list of what you're going to do the next day? And he said, no. And so he doesn't really have any guidance. Number 1, you don't find the time. You will make the time for what's important to you. So somebody asked me today, how do you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning? How do you find that? It's still hard. If I don't set an alarm, I'm not going to wake up. Except now my bladder knows that is the time that I get up. But I make it, I am so mission driven to live a healthy life, to inspire you guys, that I make myself get up. And I just drew a blank. Mel Robbins, in the 5-second rule, she said she thinks of the rocket going off at NASA. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom! She gets out of bed. And I've thought about that too. So make a list, do the best you can, cross off your successes, move the ones you didn't get to the top of the list for the next day, and give yourself a gold star for giving it the good college try. It's hard to describe how great I feel after making veggie juice and eating well throughout the day. I'm much more focused and energetic. Food is the only medicine we need. Just got to make good choices. Socrates said that food was thy best medicine. I'm pretty sure that I may have gotten the wrong gentleman from back in the past, but I know that. And physician, heal thyself. That one is in the Bible. And you can't see, but on my arm right here is a tattoo, and it's an Olympic discus player and a caduceus. And what it stands for is exercise is medicine. But I believe food, it starts with food. We just live in a world where it's easy. So when mechanization of agriculture came at the end of the 19th century to America, and we have the Great Plains, and we have a way to grow, and then it was how do we do it the cheapest, but maybe not the healthiest. So I actually have followed Lee's guidance and begin to use our Vitamix to blend juices too, because I still struggle, and everybody we work with, we sit with or talk to about how many vegetable servings they should have every day, how many veggies, fruits that they should have every day, and understand people are going to tell you there's too much sugar in a fruit and all this. Look, nobody put on weight because they ate too many fruits and veggies. That is a guarantee. Boom, and there are very few of them. Again, if you're a diabetic, we have to work through it until you get to that point. But I'm telling you, fruits and veggies are not the devil. They are good for you. So I made a carrot orange juice, and literally the ingredients were carrots, oranges, and ice. It doesn't get much more pure. It's the same as we bought our Vitamix, and we make our own peanut butter, which I eat some peanut butter probably every stinking day, and it's dry roasted peanuts, and that's it. One ingredient. The fewer the ingredients, the healthier it is. So here's another tip. Find your tribe with self-care. You are the product of the 5 people you hang around the most. So find your tribe and love them hard. Again, if you are around a group of positive, motivated, inspirational dreamers, doers, and believers, you know what? It'll rub off. It was yummy, Tammy. If I could go get you some out of my fridge, I would give you some. On my personal page, though, somewhere in here is the recipe, by the way. I can post that again. But find your tribe and love them hard. Once again, if you are around people that tend to be more sedentary, a little more lazy, it doesn't make them bad people. I'm not passing judgment, but you are more likely to be sitting around with that group of people. If you, again, motivated, inspired, go-getters, doers, believers. I hang around with a lot of young entrepreneurs who are working hard for their family every single day and finding a way to change the world and make something better and solve a pain point. That is how you build a business. So find your tribe and love them hard. That's exactly what we build here. I have one more quick piece. And I want to remind you, life is short. The past happens too quickly, and the future doesn't happen fast enough. Think about that. The past, man, can't believe almost 3 months of this year has gone by. Oh, when is Christmas going to come? When are my taxes going to arrive? Oh my God, I have to do my taxes? Now it might come fast. But life is short. Cherish every moment. Never diminish a day. You never get it back. So I implore you to make self-care a priority because it is not selfish. Can you take, and in the discussion are the top 8 pieces that I talked about, can you put into action 3 of those in the next 10 days? And if you want to do that exercise, I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I would love to hold you accountable. So as always, I'm always humbled when you take time out of your busy day, whether it's live or after the fact when it's posted, to join us. And I'm especially thankful today after we had some technical difficulties. So Lee asked earlier, how do I get notified? Be sure there should be a piece that says click to get notified of future live videos. Next week, it's going to be 11 a.m. Central Standard Time because I'll be on a jet plane coming back to Texas on Wednesday. So I'm sure I could pay for the internet. I don't know how good it would be if I was 30,000 feet in the air. But self-care isn't selfish. Look good, feel good, live well. And again, if you'd like to get your Daily Danish in your text message, just click like and I'll reach out and ask for your phone number privately. We won't put it for the world to know. We have a brand new YouTube channel, and actually there's over 50 videos, and they get better all the time, I think, because it's progress, not perfection. Remember, change the world with a high five, a smile, and a handshake. Bye now.